You ever wonder what it takes to turn a life sentence into a life of purpose? Today's guest did just that. Oswald Newbold is living proof that redemption isn't just possible, it's powerful. Oswald, man, I've been waiting to have this convo with you. Before we deep dive, give us a little quick elevator pitch if you don't mind. Who are you today and what are you up to?
Who I am today, I'll say I'm a family man. Also, I'm a social justice advocate, a community engager, and somebody that just strive to help wherever I can to make things go in a positive direction.
That's fantastic. You said it so casual too.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't life-changing.
Yeah.
Tell me, if you don't mind, tell me about the moment that you realized your story had power.
That's a great, if I can be honest, it took me a while to come to terms to realize and to embrace my life and my story. Sometimes your life has some ugliness in it and we don't like to face it. But once I faced the ugly in my life, I realized I found purpose out of pain. And that's when I realized that I needed to share my story.
Was it scary?
Scary, hurtful, embarrassing, and then kind of just unknown. You don't know how we live in a society where people could be cruel. They don't see you for the person you are right now or the person you were the majority of your life. But they're the one, two, or three mistakes you make in your life, people try to hold that against you for the rest of your life.
So going through that process of deciding to go down the good path,
yes,
but also still feeling all those feelings,
right.
That voice in the back of your head, imposter syndrome. You did this in your past. You're not good enough. You don't deserve this. All those things, right? Probably worse than what I'm saying.
Okay.
You've said to yourself, I assume.
Probably so.
How do you keep going? How do you push through that?
To be honest, I always had a loving family that loved me. You know, it didn't take until I went through some rough times in my life that I realized, how much my family loved me. And that was where I drew my strength from. Next to God, it was my family. So leaning back on the love of my family and my true friends, I have friends that are like family to me. That's where I drew my strength from. And just understanding that gave me inspiration to move forward.
Well, two things come to mind, two words. Number one, congratulations. And number two, thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're already changing the lives of others. You don't even realize it yet, probably. And if you realize it, you're probably not accepting it because you're too humble sometimes.
I'm humble. I am humbled. Sometimes you don't know. You'll say something to someone and you don't realize the impact it have on their life. I think the first time I realized that was somebody went by my mother's house and he hadn't seen me in almost 15, 20 years. And I didn't realize at the time a question we had when he was about 19 or 20 years old made him go to college. And from college, that's where he met the woman that would become his wife, and he just blossomed from there. And he said the conversation, he had lost his mom at an early age when he was in the 12th grade. And he graduated and he was working at a Burger King. And it was an uncomfortable space for me because what do I tell somebody who's lost their mother? But one thing I knew about his mother, I say, look, I don't know what you're going to do, but I know your mother didn't raise you to work at Burger King the rest of your life. So if you love your mother and you want to honor her, you got to do more than this because this is not what she was raising you for. And I just was saying that in the moment because I really truly believe that, but I didn't realize that made him change his life, go to college, and don't look back.
Man. Man. And those stories for you are just going to stack up.
Yeah, it does. Every time I look around, people say, hey, I remember the day you said this to me, and I never forgot it. It'd just be a random, simple, heart-to-heart conversation I'm having with someone, and something resonate with them that they hold on to, and it'd be life-changing for them. And the many things, it don't be me. I be paying forward things the universe have brought across my ears, my heart, my mind in my lifetime.
I feel like we're speaking into existence the future. So since this is recording, I'll say it anyway. A couple years from now, who knows, 1,
Right.
2, 5, 12, we're going to be sitting down doing another video, and we're going to be talking about back in 2025 when we met in New Orleans.
Okay.
And we were talking about that story. And just 2 hours earlier that day, you were up in the hallway outside of the conference, speaking to someone, speaking into them, and just speaking your truth. But they're going to take that and run with it. And then 2, 3, 5 years from now, they're going to catch you outside those same doors, and they're going to be like, hey, Oz, remember when you told me this? Well, guess what I did?
Yeah.
And I accomplished this, and I did this and this and this because of that 2-minute conversation that you had with them in the hallway.
And that's the goal. The goal is when we share something with somebody to help them or help them grow, we're hoping that it does spark something in them, and that is the result in the end. To give people, just give us that push. You know, what they say, grow where you're planted. So, and wherever we at, no matter what we going through, I strive to do my best to help others grow. Sometimes I put so much into others, I neglect myself. And people tell me I need to become more selfish now because I'm always helping others. But when you're going to help yourself?
You can't pour from an empty cup.
Can't pour from, who's going to fill my cup when my cup is empty?
You can't give an hour every hour. You got to give 45 minutes and take that 15-minute pit stop.
I got to write that one down and remember.
My business coach taught me that.
Yeah.
Because I, as an entrepreneur, I was running myself ragged.
Yeah.
I was just giving too much.
I understand that. I understand.
You've got to take that time, that self-care. Put yourself in a room, lock the door, turn the phone off, and breathe.
Breathe. Okay.
If nothing else, right?
Great wisdom.
So you didn't just survive a sentence. You used it to spark change.
Right.
What's one thing that people misunderstand about reentry?
One thing people misunderstand about reentry. That's a good question. I think one thing people misunderstand about reentry, they think reentry is a statutory mandate. And in most places, reentry is not a statutory mandate. It actually comes from a community standpoint where people want to help those who have been impacted by the justice system with the reintegration. In other words, what I'm saying, most states and most governments aren't funding reentry. Yeah, they're not funding reentry. So a lot of people feel that reentry is like the last phase of the rehabilitation process, but actually it comes from the goodwill of people who want to help others.
That's the cold, hard truth.
That's the bottom. That's why funding is low. When we think about reentry, if we could help somebody who just got out of jail or prison or help a child, they're going to help a child. If we could help somebody who just got out of jail or prison or help a senior, they're going to help the senior. We're going to help somebody that just got out of jail or prison, but we could help somebody that's challenged by some type of limitation or disability, they're going to help that person. So the population that we serve in reentry is at the bottom of the totem pole with everything. And people just don't understand just how hard that struggle is, even for the providers that are seeking to help those going through reentry.
And quite often that's the perpetual dark horse of recidivism.
It is, because it's not even about crime. Sometimes people pushed into desperation. We always talk, like right now, people talk about Second Chance Month, right? And we talk about second chances. Some people didn't get their first chance. I wrote an article about that in there. When people speak about second chances, some people never got their first chance. Being born into poverty, that's you didn't even have your first chance. Being born to a situation where the parents may use some type of substance, they have substance use challenges. You didn't get your first chance. You going from family member to family member house, food insecurity or housing insecurity. Didn't even get your first chance. So we talking about a second chance when some people haven't even achieved their first chance yet.
That's real.
And that pushes us into that other mindset, that's survival, desperation. It don't even about being a criminal. Sometimes it's just about meeting the basic minimal need of life. And when somebody come out of the system, if they don't have their own money, and I always say, when the gate slam behind you, the door slam behind you, There go them 3 meals. There go a place to lay your head. There go some clothes to put on every day. There go that medical you could walk over to. All that's gone. Life, doing the time is the easy part. Life gets real when the gates slam behind you. Yeah.
That cycle of, okay, you got to get a job.
Right.
But you can't get a job till you get a car. You can't get a car till you get a license. You can't get a license till you have a utility bill in your name. You can't get a utility bill in your name till you have a place to live, and you can't pay for that place till you get a job.
Right.
And then it's just...
And it's two sides. It's good you say that. We was just talking about how inside of facilities, you're like a half a block or a block away from everything. Everything is walking distance. You're just a half a block or a block away from getting there. Everything you need. All of a sudden you get on the streets, it's the things you just talk about. You got to get all over the place. You don't have transportation, but you need to get there. And everything seemed to always be on opposite ends of town, right? You don't have transportation, but you have to get there. Not because life depends on it. And this is the struggle. And 2 things I think people need when they come out: communication and transportation. You got to have a phone. Even if you're getting a job, people need to be able to contact you. So you need communication and transportation. Them 2 things you can't get away from. That's the first part of like reaching success.
Yeah, a prepaid debit card with $100 on it ain't gonna cut it.
No. That's going just like that. That's
an Uber ride to grandma's house.
If you in the city of New York, you definitely got that 100 to go. They hit me up for $72 for 5 miles from LaGuardia to Manhattan, man. I say, good.
It's gone.
Out of there.
Let me ask you a direct question.
Go ahead.
Do you think the system was built for redemption?
The penal system? The penal system was not built for redemption. It was built for punishment.
Tell me about that.
Outright. I feel the system was built for punishment. It wasn't built for redemption. It's supposed to have rehabilitation in there, but very little rehabilitation goes on. There's no programming. It's the very minimum of everything. So how do you expect someone to come out better? If a person come out better, it's because they changed their mind and their heart, but it's not because the system has poured into that individual and showed them the right way. So that system, and this could be me, but I think that revolving door of the system, it keeps that system perpetuated. If people stop going to jail or prison, do you realize how many people would be without a job? So many people eat from that. Everything from the police to the bailiff, to prosecutors, to lawyers, to transport officers, to correctional officers, everything. Inside of there, classification officers, wardens, probation officers, parole officers, investigators, all of this here. So there's a lot of mouths that get fed from this system. So somebody has to be in there. People would say, oh, well, we wish all crime could go away. If all crime went away, it's a lot of people will find themselves trying to find a new career.
Yeah, that'd be bad for business.
Yeah, bad for business.
Especially when, I don't know the percentages, but a good majority of the prisons are private. They're monetized, from what I understand.
Not most, not in Florida, Not in Florida. They're state, but people talk about the private prisons, but the state make their money off the prisoners too, because they have contracts where they'll give labor at a reduced price. So it's whether it's private, whether it's state, there's somebody going to make money by utilizing the prisoner. It's
in
big
exchange
business.
for 3 hots and a cot.
3 hots and a cot.
You've got decades of lived and professional experience.
Right.
What gave you the edge to not only break the cycle, but to help others do the same? Where's that fire come from?
I don't know. So my uncle said when I was young, he said, my nephew gonna be a lawyer. You're gonna be a lawyer one day. And I don't know what made him say that. I don't know if it's because of my responses to him, but he just felt that I would be somebody that's able to talk their way out of things. But when I originally went off to college, my major was criminal justice and my minor was political science. I had aspirations of being a lawyer. that got derailed. But even when I went through my moments and times with the system, I found myself in the law library all the time. That's when I found out about the injustices of the justice system, right? The law could say one thing, but the judge don't always rule that way. They're human and they don't always go by the rule of law. They uphold an institution that isn't always just. Yeah.
Justice isn't always just.
Justice isn't always just.
That could be a t-shirt.
It can be.
We're going to need to put that on the Oswald Newbold website. Available soon.
Justice isn't always just.
I only need 3%.
Okay. Gotcha.
We've been making t-shirts on all the episodes, running theme. So green check it out the box. We got a t-shirt for Oz's website. Talk about your work in reentry.
My work in reentry. So right now I do reentry in Florida in Palm Beach County. We assist men and women released from federal prison, state prison, and our local county jail. And we basically walk them through the reintegration process. Every person come out, needs aren't exactly the same. We do anything from helping with basic needs such as clothes, food. They might need to get their license or their ID or their social security card or their birth certificate. They might need to get clothes to go to a job interview. We even do in-house workshops, employment workshops with our clients, because we mentioned something else here in the podcast where we talked about, hey, you get out and then a person looking for employment. Everybody not ready for employment straight out the gate. It depends on where that person was at when they was incarcerated. Some prisons are rougher than others. So some people may experience the more trauma or seen more than other people have seen. So just getting reacclimated to the main floor of society, getting past that trauma, just getting ourselves together from an emotional and just civil standpoint, we have to do it. Guys, go and take on certifications. A certificate in a trade not going to save you if you got this trade, you're great with your hands, but our attitude, we act like we're on the rec field. You'll blow it. And you not only blow it for yourself, you blow it for the next man who needs to get that chance. So we have to make sure that we always look that over. We think as soon as a person get out of jail or prison, the first thing we push, well, you need to find a job. Well, are they ready for a job? They need a job. They need income. But are they ready for that in a week of being out? Right. Or 2 or 3 days of being out? Now, then nobody gonna take care of a grown person. I get it. But at the same time, we make the finding a job more important rather without asking the question, hey, is this person ready for employment yet? Or even ask them, do you think you're ready for employment yet? Person might say no and they might give you a reason why they don't think that. Maybe that needs to be addressed first.
Almost mindset, emotional triggers.
All that.
Yeah, because the stigma, the whole reason why there's a box, that they put a box on there is because, if somebody gets out of prison, they're dangerous. I don't want them working in my office.
Yeah.
Because of the mentality. You know, what if somebody comes up and taps them on the back of the shoulder to ask them a work question and that,
Yeah, they could have that going. But also there's a flip side to all of this. With many people that get out, especially if a man or woman has made up in their mind not to go back, one thing about them, if you give that person a chance, it's likely you're going to have one of the most loyal employees you ever got because they have a chip on their shoulder. We want to prove something. So you give me that chance, gonna stick in the paint with you like nobody else.
Dog with a bone.
Dog, yeah, just like that, right? And so that's where a lot of employers do miss out on great talent. If you get a person that's loyal to you, one of the things they'll do, they're gonna be willing to learn. They might say, hey, I don't know, but if you show me, I'll get it, right? And when everybody else abandon the ship, they'll still be there with you to go down with it. Because guess what? Not many others gave them that chance. Nobody threw that dog that bone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a win. Top of mind, what's a win that you're proud of with the work you're doing with reentry?
That's a tough one. Celebrate everything. A win is anything.
Do you have a recent story where it just made your week?
Well, A win for me is somebody that, so I go inside a 384 bed facility doing a peer mentoring class, and somebody that was in the first class I did at that facility is now my coworker, and I was able to be a part of the interview panel that hired him.
Oh man!
So, and I have to remind them, I say, listen, you're my coworker. Yeah. So that's a big win for me to see enough value that he's been out a year now, but just to see him go from sitting in a class, unsure, having the will to want to do right, want to do successful things in life. And he did what he had to do to work on himself in there. But to see that evolution and growth, and even now, he get intimidated and scared because he don't know. I said, it's nothing wrong with not knowing, but ask a question, and that's what he do. And he's doing great. And I always tell him, man, I'm proud of you. Not only him, it's two of them, right? It's a second. Both of them was in the same class. My first class I did out there. Two of them are my coworker. The only reason I lean towards the other one that mentioned him is because now he's still under supervision, even got an anchor monitor. You would never know it because he's excelling. You know, they say aim for the sky and you at least hit a star. Mm-hmm. And that's what's happening with both of them, yeah. And I'm proud they're my coworkers.
Man, that's so cool. Yeah. So at one point in time, you were an incarcerated individual.
Yes, sir.
Rocking a life sentence.
That's what the judge gave me, 2 of them.
2 life sentences. I didn't know that.
Plus 15.
Oh, 2 life plus 15.
Yeah.
And life now is what? 85 or 85%?
In Florida, when the judge sentences you to life, that means you'll be in a pine box when you leave. There is no parole for you get a life sentence.
And you had 2 plus 15.
Yeah.
So you went from that to a government job, leadership role with a college degree.
Yes. Well,
how?
Well, I went from the life sentences to a reduced sentence. So just like I say, there wasn't no parole for me. I happened to win an appeal where I got a sentence of 40 and followed by 15 years, which was a 55-year sentence. And it took me 25 years to do that sentence with game time. Walked out. And my first 15 years, I say they was raggedy. If you want to know all the nonsense going on, I could have told you everything. And I always tell people, my first 15 years, you couldn't pay me to go take a class. I hate to say it, but if I speak my truth, my first 15 years, you couldn't pay me to go take a class. I just felt that I was going to be an entrepreneur. I don't need to go to school. Not realizing who going to give me a loan. I don't have my own money. I don't even have a credit score. But in my mind, I don't need to go to class. But my last 10, I did change. And when I went to class, it was the best thing I could ever do. In my last 10 years, I went to class. And a funny story, I got put in my first class was a business computer software class. I got this book, I never forget, it's 702 pages. Ooh, that's what I said. My face was looking just like yours. So I opened it up. You know, it's a simple read, but the first thing it told you how to turn on the computer, the power button, get all of that. And it told me to insert the cursor. And I didn't know what a cursor was. So I asked the guy, hey, what's this cursor thing? And he told me, he said, oh, it's the thing right there blinking. It's the thing right there blinking. And I'm just so thankful I took the computer course, because at the end of the day, we live in a society where you can't get past having computer skills. And it actually, I have to use that every day in my field of work with employment now, is computer skills. So I'm thankful that I took that class. And another thing about school too was, even though I got a trade, I had said to myself, I'd never go back to college. I wasn't willing to go get a student loan and go in debt and be paying on a student loan debt the rest of my life to get this degree where I'm struggling to pay back that loan. And I meant it. And I said, but it was one exception. And that one exception for me was, if somebody else would pay for the schooling, I'll go back. But if I have to pay for it, it's a no-go. So that meant the scholarship in my mind, right?
I want to take that back and time travel a little bit. Take it all the way back. I want to quote you from the book, if that's all right.
Okay.
You wrote, "My early trauma didn't define me, it refined me."
Mm-hmm.
Let's unpack that.
In what section did I say that? At the end? Can you remember?
I don't remember which piece.
Yeah, because so from the trauma for me, we never really talked about the trauma in here yet. So you want me to talk about the trauma?
Well, let's talk about the Lincoln Elementary.
Yeah, because that's the trauma.
The report card moment.
That's the trauma.
Yeah,
that's the trauma.
let's talk about that.
Yeah. Okay, so go ahead, lead me in right here.
Just tell me about the Lincoln Elementary report card moment.
Oh yeah, so
a little bit of context. They're gonna get the gist of it.
Okay.
Sorry, they're gonna get the details in the book, of course.
Right.
But
so to be honest, when it came to me with education, I was kind of disconnected from education at one point in my life. And I didn't think much of it, but it went back to me being 6 years old. My first grade teacher failed me, right? So you wasn't getting like A through F. We had like this other system like satisfactory, unsatisfactory, need improvement, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
All I can remember is getting this report card and I had all these bad grades on there. And in my mind, I'm like, my mama gonna tear my tail up. And I don't know what to do. Me and my 6-year-old mind, my grandmother was a school teacher, so she bought me a typewriter, right? And I got home, I got me a bottle of white out. I whited out the grades. I whited out the bad grades. I had to line it up on the old school typewriter where it had a ribbon. It had the ribbon and you could see the arm go up. Yeah, that's okay. It's the 1970s now. So I get it lined up. I hit it. It's about as good as a 6-year-old could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible job.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible job. And of course, my mama, she tore my tail up, not for two things, the bad grade and changing the grades, right? And then she went out, she wanted to talk to the teacher, and I didn't know where the bad grades came from. And I showed her my schoolwork. My mom set up a parent-teacher conference. The teacher didn't want to talk. The teacher didn't, well, she could never get the teacher on the phone. She finally went out to the principal. We went out to the class, and my mama was like, "Hey, my son got these bad grades. Could you show me in your grade book where he earned these bad grades? Because based on all the work I have here, that doesn't equate to what's on this report card." And the long story short, the teacher couldn't show it, and the teacher was rude towards my mom. And then it got to the point where the principal took my mom outside and said, "Hey, I'm gonna change your son from this class. We have been having trouble with this teacher." And this is the 1970s. This is like 1977, right? 6 years old. And I was just, okay, my teacher changed. So in the car, I asked my mama, "Well, what happened?" My mama she said, "The teacher is prejudiced." 6-year-old, I have no idea what that word means. And I asked my mama, so I'm still there asking my mama questions, just trying to understand what happened. And then my mama in frustration just said to me, "Well, she don't like you because of the color of your skin. That's why she gave you those bad grades." My 6-year-old mind just couldn't wrap around it.
Yeah.
But because I was doing my work and in my mind, I was doing right and getting good grades. So the good grades led to me with a bad report card and a whooping. I didn't realize in my 6-year-old mind, it made me say, well, I'm not going to try as hard because that didn't turn out good for me. You know, because nobody taught me through what all of that meant at 6 years old. And from there, I did enough work in school to get by, but started skipping class in the 4th grade. Yeah. I told my mom didn't know I started skipping class in the 4th grade. I told her that when I was grown. She wanted to whoop me in.
Man. So one thing led to another, as they say.
One thing led to another. I mean, it's kind of crazy because in there, it disconnected me from school. I got to junior high school. Now I really wasn't still just doing enough to get by. But then I got in the 8th grade and all of a sudden I saw some guys that was cool and they was in honors and advanced classes, right? And I was like, okay, it's okay to do your work and you could still be cool, all right? But how am I get in these advanced classes? It just so happened when they give you your schedule at the beginning of the year, a lot of people had some classes was too crowded or whatever. You go back down there, the guidance counselors or whoever they was, they'll scratch out the thing right in the other class. He'll get it to your teachers. So here go me. I scratched me out. I got me a little modification program going on. So I went on ahead and politely, and they was writing so fast, so they writing was sloppy, the counselors. So I scratched me a couple things out, wrote me an old honor class in here, advanced class there, and gave it to the teacher. They put me on the roll book. But when I did that, it actually made me want to do more. It made me excel. Now, I struggled because I missed so much of my basic foundations in education. But at the same time, it elevated me because I was around people that caused me to have to elevate. I was held to a standard where I had to do more. And I loved it. And that was in the 8th grade in middle school, junior high school. But by the time I got to high school, my peer group changed, and there went that passion. Over with. Yeah.
You've touched global advocacy, government, community mentoring, but let's go back a little bit.
Okay.
Is there a dark day?
Like out here? You saying, what do you mean by a dark day?
Like if I were to say, what's your darkest day? Is there like a...
In my lifetime?
Mm-hmm.
No, that's a few. That's a few. There's a few dark days in my lifetime. I mean, like even just going to prison, catching a case is a dark day, right? Who would have known that I would do something that would land me there? How would know I would do something that would hurt others, you know? So that's a dark day. And that always sits on my heart. Just simple things. While I was gone a lot of years. I lost a lot of family over time, and I couldn't even go pay my respects to them because my decision-making put me in a situation that I couldn't get to them now and things. So those was times like I still struggle with. All those are dark days for me. You know, I recently went out to my grandmother's grave and just was talking to her, not really talking to her, just went to my grandmother's grave because I didn't get to see her before she got buried.
What's the fuel that helps you push forward and push through those dark days?
Well, my family did pour into me. When they was here, they poured into me. So I just go on the wisdom that they instilled in me and the things I didn't understand or didn't want to listen to when I was younger. It all makes sense to me now as I'm up in age. So that fuels me forward because what I'm doing now is what they would have wanted anyway. And I have a cousin, Melanie. She said something to me and she was like, Oz, you doing good. We proud of you. You're doing great now. You just trust me. We proud of what you're doing. But then she gave me that look. She say, but you know you're doing what was expected. I'm like, she said, yeah, you're doing good, but what you're doing is what was expected anyway. So she held me to a standard. I don't care if you've been to prison. I don't care what you've been through. We still expected you to come out here and be somebody. And she left it at that. So that meant a lot to me. Like, I'm like crazy. Like, I'm trying to do to get there. But she said, you're doing what was expected. So they didn't lower the bar for me just because I've been through something. And that in itself helped fuel me because my family expect for me to do something, to be somebody. And you know, it's levels to it, but they didn't lower the bar for me. And that's a good thing.
I don't know if there's a term that exists for that. It probably is. But when you have family that you love and respect, that then says something like that to you that's so real and raw and direct.
It caught me out the blue, man. Like, for real. I was like, whoa, what?
And was there a little hint of a feeling or an acknowledgement that they respect you? Because the acknowledgement was, oh yeah, you're finally doing what you were supposed to do.
Yeah.
I've always expected you to do great things.
Right.
So welcome to the party.
That part. Just took me a while to get there. But yeah.
There's a level of respect in receiving that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, they don't think I'm a piece of trash.
Yeah. So they're not looking down on me. They got a high bar for me to go for, and to see me get at it as fast as I did, coming out like just grinding, getting employment, winning, earn a degree, all those things. It's like, hey, that's what was expected. And I had a classmate that actually told me something before. He say, life is just like a GPS. You make a wrong turn, and the GPS will go to recalculate it. It'll recalculate it, and it'll put you on the right path. He say, your GPS just recalculated, you're on the right path now. You know, you took a wrong turn, but life done recalculated for you, and you're on the right path.
That's cool.
Yeah, he said,
cool.
He told me that. So he's saying, and he say, just like you make a wrong turn, when you use that GPS, you still make it to the destination. You just took a wrong turn. You might take a few, but it's going to recalculate for you to get to where you're supposed to get. And you're going now. And I just like received that. Yeah.
How's that feel?
It feels good. It feels good because sometimes that self-doubt, you be wondering if you could do it. You know, of course, in here, as you elevate, everybody not going to be happy for your success, but you have to just fight through those things and keep pushing forward. And we have to move at God's speed, you know, and I always tell people, it's not me. I say, God put something in me that's greater than me for me to do this work, right? Because if I was leaning on man and what man think, I probably would walk away, but I know there's a divine purpose bigger than this here. And like my name, Oswald, right? Hated my name growing up. Hated it with a passion. Come on, black kid in the hood, name Oswald, get up out of here. But when I learned that my name, I finally looked at my name. I was like in my 30s. I looked up my name and I realized my name means divine power of God, God power. So that's why I use Oswald now with a smile all the time. That's what the name means.
You've accepted it.
I accept.
You've accepted your purpose.
I accepted my purpose.
Man.
Yeah.
Let's get tactical for a second.
I'll go ahead.
This is something else that is deeply woven into the fabric of P2P.
Okay.
Because it's, now that we're years down the line, we've seen it come to fruition. So right now, there's somebody right inside that lens that's watching you on YouTube. They might still be inside.
Yeah.
They might have just got home.
Right.
Or they've got a record. They've got no hope. They feel like they're on an island.
Right.
They feel about this big. For whatever reason, whatever brought them to that moment. Let's give them 3 tangible things that they can do to start building their new life right this second.
Well, one of the things, for those of you listening, I'll say this to you. Everything starts with mindset first. So the first thing we got to do is drop the P off of pride and just ride. Pride will hold us back from a lot of things. Also, we have to put in our heart to separate. We can't live 1 foot in the game and 1 foot out the game. You're going to have to decide. I'm going to do right, I'm going to do wrong. You straddle the fence, you're going to get snagged. And other people may count you out, but don't count yourself out. We lean too much on what others think of us. We have to put in our mind and our heart, hey, I am bigger than the mistakes I have made in my life. It is about redemption. And I would say, do what you have to do to be able to get yourself going in the direction you want to go in. The biggest thing for me, it starts with mindset. And you can't sit in there and just say, or even if you're out here, you can't play the game and say, oh, I'm going to do this, oh, I'm going to do that. Because you want to know, a lot of times that's just us talking. That's our mind. You have to feel it in your heart. You have to put it up in your heart that, hey, I'm going to get out of this place and I'm never coming back to this place. And when you put in your mind and in your heart that I'm never going back to that place, you're going to do everything you have to do to be able to stay out here and make it the right way. And I think that's where a lot of us struggle at too. We don't get that conviction in our heart that I'm never coming back to this place. You know, because we say, well, I'm going to go out, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. If things don't go right, we know we'll lean back on them bad ways. You have to eradicate that totally out of the mindset, totally out of our heart. And once you do that, you'll pour all that energy in doing what's right. And guess what? It's not going to be a success overnight. Have to go through the steps. Everybody want the end result without going through the process to get the success. But that's what I think. Mindset, everybody. Mindset. That's where it starts at. Drop that pride. Forget your homeboys and homegirls may want one thing. What do you want? What do you want? What do you think God put on your heart for you to be or do? That's the question.
That's powerful. That's powerful. I'm going to challenge you to go one layer deeper.
Okay.
Because as you know, I'm sure from personal lived experience, there's a time where change your mindset means nothing. What does that even mean? It might as well have been said in German.
All right, changing mindset.
Give me something tangible. What's something that they can do that leads them down the path of changing that mindset for the better?
All right. Well, something you could do along with changing the mindset is you have to invest in yourself. You have to get tools. You have to get some skills, whether it's a vocational trade. Some of us, it's not even about always going in the classroom. Some people may self-study. Some people may get a degree, but whatever you do, we live in a society that's based on having license, certifications, or degrees. We can't get around that here, just to be honest. So I think that any man or woman, if they want to get to where they want to get, they're going to need a license, degree, or a certification. Don't take something that you're not going to use. I tell people, don't go get something just to get it. That's the worst thing we could do. That's a waste of time. Get something that you're going to use or likely believe you're going to use and build from there. And like a person be like, well, I'm going to have my own business. You're going to have to go down there and get some licensing and permits. Do you know the proper ones to go down there and get? You still going to have to study. License, certifications, degrees. You're going to have one of those to get to where the level you want to be at if you're staying legitimate. Right?
That's a heavy lift, but man, if that's not the go-to direct answer, I don't know what is.
It's a heavy lift. I mean,
is it not what put you in that chair here today?
What's that?
Doing exactly that.
Yeah, doing exactly that. I mean, yeah, I had to invest in stuff. What I told you, for 15 years, you couldn't pay me to go to a class. But after I went to a class, and I may didn't share it to the full magnitude earlier, but when I got in that class and I didn't know what a cursor was, I felt dumb. But I felt I was a smart guy. I felt I was a sharp guy. And it wasn't that I couldn't get it, but just think if I would have ran into that on the streets. Let's say the courts would have let me out and just threw me out of prison right then in a computer society where I'm computer illiterate at the time. I would have struggled.
Yeah.
I would have struggled. I wouldn't have been able to get to these successes I'm getting at in the amount of time I did. I was able to do that because by the time I came out, I was computer literate. But I thought I was that smart guy and I was lost. Yeah, so opening that mindset up, being willing to learn, we don't know everything. And I'm just thankful I had good mentors along the way. What made me get into school, it was 2 people who helped me get it in, made me change my mind. Well, 3 people made me change my mind. Well, one was my best friend. He was asking me about the facility I was at. He was asking me about all the trades and classes they had. I laid out this long list of things. And he kept asking me, well, what else? And I got frustrated with it. And I'm like, man, what are you asking all of this stuff for? And he like, man, everything you named right there that you could go take for free, it costs to take it out here on the streets. Go take that class. And I was like, wow, okay. But guess what? I still didn't go get in the class right then. And then another thing happened. I had a friend who was always asking me, hey, you in classes yet? And I was saying, yeah, I'm on the waiting list. But I was lying. I wasn't on no waiting list. I went on it. After a while, my heart say, if you're not gonna go to any classes, be man enough just to say you're not. I don't want to go in any classes. But in my spirit, I knew I needed to be going to class. So all those factors, and then it was one more guy. We in the middle of the rec field. He like, hey, you was young when you came. What you gonna do when you get out? I don't want to hear that jump by. You gonna get a job and stay out of trouble. Everybody say that. What are you gonna do to make the type of money you want to make when you get out? You was young when you came. You don't have at that time, you don't have any trades. You don't have any work skills. Like, what you gonna do? And I'm looking at him and he like, listen, man, go to class about 2 hours. The rec field and your homeboys will be here when you get back. Go to class. And he went to telling me about all the classes he had taken and all the certificates he got. So I went back to the dorm that night, pull out my little folder, got every bit of 2 certificates. I've been in about 15 years now. The certificate was old. They were classes they forced me to take way in the beginning, right? And I started looking at everybody when they call work call and programs and recreation. I seen how many people had their books going to class. And I said, let me go to class. Yeah, best move I could have made. When I told the lady who was the education director at the time, Ms. Lewis, when I said, hey, I want to get in a class, she threw me in class so fast, she didn't give me a chance to change my mind.
She's been waiting.
Oh, she threw me in there so fast. But best move I could have ever made. Getting out, earning my degree, best move I could have ever made. Just a little short story on that. Remember I said that I would never go to school and let somebody else pay for it. I had got a job with the city in a public works department. And then I was offered to an interim management position. But to be a manager, you needed a degree. And the director at the time, he was like saying, hey, I'll put you in this position, but you got to go back to school. And in my mind, I was like, dog. But I remember right then in my mind, I said I would never go back to school and let somebody else pay for it. And the city had the tuition reimbursement program. You make an A in the class, they give you 100% reimbursement. A B is 80%, C or lower, they don't reimburse anything. So in my mind, I say, I got to go to school and be an honor student. Somebody else could pay for it. So it was either put up or shut up.
Right.
Best move I could have made. When I went back to school, because I took so many shortcuts in my educational journey in my life, I wanted to challenge myself at that time. And I graduated with a 3.9 GPA when I graduated. I mean, I worked on my craft. If the teacher gave us a chance to just do our own research, I always did something in my field, which I feel is in the criminal justice field and criminal justice reform field, things that I could use one day. And I always worked on my craft. And a lot of my papers, this is when you know you do a good paper. The professor always had a minimum amount of words that something could be. One thing about me, let's say they say it has to be 1,500 words. I do a hard stop at 1,500, 1,501, 1,503. I always the bottom end. But sometimes I can't make it because I'm not wordy. I might make it to like 1,300, 1,400. If it's 2,500, I fly in by that 24 and some change. If I make 25, it's going to stop right at 2501, 2 or 300 right there. But I had, this how I know I say this, I had written many papers where I didn't make the minimum amount of words, but still made an A because the substance of what I talked about in there was undeniable. And like, because I was working on my craft, I wasn't doing things just to do it to make the grade. It was a 2-for-1 for me. It was to make my grade, but also I was working on my craft. And like, my teachers, they'll knock off a point or two for not making the word count, but still made an A.
Because of the substance and the context.
Because of the substance and the content, what's going on. Yeah. Yeah, for real.
So you had that smart guy in you the whole time. You just had to rip it out.
Yeah. I was smart enough to change that thing at 6 years old.
Try white out.
Yeah. They say that was a sophisticated move for a 6-year-old. But thankfully, I think some of it is genetical too. You know, my dad was an engineer, used to design engines for fighter jets at a point in his life. So I think there are some things in me genetically that I just didn't utilize the right way. So
you've got intelligence in your DNA.
It's in my DNA. Yeah. Yeah. And my mom, my mom had all the common sense. My dad had all the academic sense. So it's there. Right.
Unlocked.
Man,
if people could remember just one thing from your story, what should it be?
If it's one thing. If it's one thing that people should remember from my story is that I never gave up, and I don't want for others to ever give up. That's why a lot of times you'll see me pouring into them more than myself, because there's a difference between failure and a failure. Failure, we run into that and we learn lessons from, but a failure, F-A-I-L-E-R, a failure, we don't want to be that.
That's a huge difference.
There's a huge difference between failure and a failure. We're not a failure. We run into failures, but we're not a failure. If we ever accept being a failure, it's over.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Because how many guys right now are sitting in there with a life sentence with the other mindset?
Yeah. It's hard. No one thing about it, if it's just like somebody on death row and they'd be like, man, I just know, if we've never been on death row, we don't know how a person feels.
Right.
If you never had a life sentence, you don't know how a person sentenced to life feels.
Right.
But I know how it feels to be sentenced to that, and it's not a good feeling. And a lot of times you don't even think about it. You don't want to think about it, because if you think about it, it'll drive you crazy. So in there, a lot of times guys give up hope. But at the same time, God tell you, you have to grow where you're planted. And it's the guys that do make it out of there is the ones that learn that. Grow where you planted. You start doing things that's bigger than just your man purpose, that's come from a greater divine purpose. Doors open. Doors open. My mentors, they've been to jail or prison. Jesus. Daniel. Joseph. These people all through time, some of the greatest people and some of the greatest writers in history. They went through a moment of confinement, and it wasn't always just, but God had a greater purpose for them.
That GPS rerouted them.
GPS rerouted them, even before GPS. Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Oswald Newbold. Oz, man, thanks for sitting down with me.
And thank you for having me here.
This was a powerful conversation.
Yeah.
Now I understand why people flock to hear you speak.
I don't know.
I love it. Talk to the people. Where can they reach out to you? Where can they find you? Social medias, websites?
Oh, they can find me by my name, Oswald Newbold. Find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. Also, you can find me at www.oswaldnewbold.com, or you could find me through P2P if they could reach out to the P2P office. But you can find me by name on social media. Again, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Oswald Newbold, and also at oswaldnewbold.com.
oswaldnewbold.com.
Yes.
I love it. I
Yes.
love it.